Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Dan, what are we doing today?
Well, man, this is part 2 of the turbo build. If you guys haven't seen the first video, we'll link down in the description below. But basically, we turboed the 3B. We got a lot of really good questions on Instagram, on the YouTube video. So today is all about answering those questions.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. But,
so what do you say we get to it?
Let's get to it. You know what? Before we do it, let's have a lovely cup of tea. What do you reckon?
Sounds like a plan.
Let's do that.
I like it.
All right.
All right. Now that we got.
Cheers, Kev. Cup of
tea.
Tea. Cup of tea. It's important, you know. At least where I come from, anyway.
All right. You got me hooked on it, man.
All right. So, like we said in this last video, last clip, this is gonna be more of like a Q&A session. Like I said on that first video, Kev put a 3B diesel in the truck. All right, so as I was saying earlier on, this is going to be a bit of a Q&A session. In the last video you saw, we did some clips on the turbo going into the 3B engine. So I've got some questions here from our Instagram account, from the YouTube channel.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys asking questions. It lets us know that we're putting stuff out there you guys want to watch.
Yeah, it was some good feedback. It was kind of a teaser, really, that first video, wasn't it? Because it wasn't like so much a how-to or much information. It was just that, hey, look, we did this. It was pretty cool. So, yeah. All right, so I got some questions, Kev.
All right.
All right.
Fire away.
All right, first of all, I think we should start off, for those of you guys who haven't seen this truck or don't know much about it, tell me more about the engine history, Kev, because it didn't have a diesel to begin with, did it?
No, so this was just your stock 76 FJ40, had the factory 2F, and I sold it to a local guy here, and he was going to put in his FJ45, but he ended up selling it to another fella, and he's actually the guy that I bought the top off of after the rollover earlier this year, or I guess last year now.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah. But yeah, so it came with the 2F, and Dan here's he's always talked up the diesel. He had a 3B FJ60 years ago, and I'd always wanted at least an H55 for the 5-speed, and this 85 BJ70 came up for sale, and I went and looked at it, and we made a deal on it, and it was rusted out. It didn't have an interior. It had been used to convert a right-hand drive to a left-hand drive, so it was pretty well mess of a truck, but it had a great engine. It fired up and ran as soon as we hot-wired the starter, and who knows how long it had been sitting.
But in saying that, despite it running well, how many miles did it have on it?
It had like 300,000 kilometers on it.
Yeah.
I think that's about 230,000 miles.
So in a typical fashion, we decided to rip it apart, right? Do a full rebuild.
So while it was out, we pulled it, rebuilt it, and we got the 3B, the H55 and everything in there. Did the swap, and you guys saw the video on that. And after getting it in, the power on it was definitely disappointing.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I mean, it's a 4-cylinder tractor engine.
Yeah,
right?
and it's like 80 or 90 horsepower.
Yeah,
compared to 135 out of the 2F.
Right, and it scoots, the 40 long pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not exactly a heavy vehicle, but it still was lacking. Right?
Yeah, but after I got it, I took it out on the interstate a couple times without the turbo, and it wide open. I was maxed out at 65 miles an hour.
That was anemic at best.
Yeah, in 5th gear.
And I think the worst part was it was no real overtaking power, right? So you're merging onto the highway, and you're just burying it.
Yeah,
and
so
you're not
it was.
Getting anywhere.
If you're thinking about doing a 3B swap, they're great off road. And we're wanting to do some trips out west, and we're wanting to drive our rigs out there, and just kind of take the back roads and just see some of the country you don't see when you're on the interstate.
Yeah. We're here in Tennessee, and so everything out west for us is like 20-hour drive in the other direction. But we don't want to trailer our stuff; we want to drive it.
So this was one of the swaps that I wanted to do. Plus, I get about 23 miles to the gallon,
awesome.
Even with the turbo on there.
Yeah. So
what else we got?
So all right. So getting into it. What turbo did you go with, and why?
So it's a Garrett GT 2052. It's got a bunch of good reviews on Mud. I was planning on buying a new one anyway, but then one came for sale in the classified ads, and it had all the oil piping, all the connectors, just all
the whole kit pretty much
clamps.
ready to go.
I mean, it was literally everything, everything, but the square tube that I got and the engine side of the manifold flange. Those are the only two things that I had to buy.
Okay. And that one right there, how much boost are you running out of that right now?
So originally, we had the wastegate hooked up originally when we put this on here, and I was getting some really high EGTs when I was cruising on the interstate, and I was reading a lot where guys had just welded their wastegate closed. Well, I didn't really want to do that, so I just pulled the hose to the wastegate actuator and just capped it off, and kept the hose with me just in case I needed to put it back on. But max boost I've seen is 12 pounds. Typically, it's around 7 or 8. Before, I was getting like 6 to 8 on the interstate, but now it's got a lot more boost on the interstate, and it's getting more airflow through the engine and keeping the EGTs a little bit cooler. They're still a little bit warmer when you're up at cruising speed on the interstate, and just in fifth gear in general, because it just doesn't have the power to pull fifth gear like it needs to.
May have a fix for that later on. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely more drivable. But like you said, you're pumping more air in the engine, more hot air in the engine, and that, it's like when you do one thing, as you all know, you have a reactionary effect.
Yes.
So it's going to affect something else down the way. But overall, that's cool. About 12 pounds of boost, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Now, one of the guys... Oh, actually, you know what? Let's go on to the intake adapter, the manifold. Now, I know on these 3B engines, when I had my 3B, I was lucky enough to find a 13 BT manifold, which is what I used to do mine. I had the Garrett Turbo 20... You said 2052?
2052.
Yeah, I think I had the same turbo. But
yeah. It's a good match for that engine.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And if you do the calculation and look at the turbo map, it's spot on.
And but you didn't have a 13 BT manifold.
I did not.
Now, in the last video, you saw Kev do some welding and put one together. Now, tell us a little bit about that. I know you said you had a DXF file, but
yeah, so there's a thread. I think it's like Andrew's homebrew turbo build or something like that, and he goes through, and I basically just copied him. He designed up the DXF file on SolidWorks or whatever, and he put about 3 different ones on there. We'll try to put a link in the description below.
Yeah, we'll send you guys put a link for you guys.
Of the thread, and you can go through there and find those files if you're wanting to do this to your 3B. But yeah, so I just basically copied him, and that. So I didn't. I guess you could buy a 13 BT manifold, but then it's not going to work with the Garrett Turbo. So I just decided I was going to do something custom, and the turbo side manifold flange came in the box that I bought off the classifieds. So,
and then you just made a log style.
Yeah, just log style.
Yeah. Which we'll be rolling some videos, as you've probably seen it so far in this video, but you'll see some clips of that. So cool, works out really well. So
it
awesome.
does, yeah.
Now in that log, is that where you have the EGT gauge?
Yeah,
so you're running a couple of gauges, right? Right
yeah.
now, running a couple of important gauges for a diesel.
So I'm running pre-turbo EGT gauge probe in the manifold, just on the bottom side there. I just took a piece of solid bar stock and punched a hole through it, tapped it, and put the EGT probe there. And then on the charge pipe, I did the same thing and put a boost gauge in there. And
that was it.
That's it. I've got a Tach that if you guys, what is it? Mini.
It's one second. It's called.
It's a tiny Tach.
Tiny Tach.
Yeah.
It's called a tiny Tach. We haven't done a video on that one yet, but.
Yeah. So it's simple. It's got a transducer that clamps onto your injector line, and it doesn't matter how many cylinders you have. It just clamps on. It came with a 6mm transducer that clamps on, which is perfect for the 3B or 12HC, whatever. And it's just a little digital tachometer.
And it keeps it like a running hour meter too.
It does keep an hour meter.
Get an idea how many hours on the
engine.
engine.
So I've been using that, and I've been happy with it so far.
Cool. Moving on. Here we are.
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming. Let's see. All right. So EGT gauge, boost gauge. Well, did you go with a particular style or a particular brand boost gauge and EGT gauge, or was it just a generic one? What did you?
They're just generic ones. They've got a brand like Toe Pro, or I don't know. They look like all the gauges that you can get on Amazon, and I just bought the same brand for the boost and the EGT gauge with just a little.
It's a good looking gauge though.
Yeah,
it's a full
good
sweep, and it's got backlit.
It changes colors. It's a simple gauge. It keeps up with what I need. You can get them that go up like pretty high boost, like 60 pounds. I think the one I've got only goes to 30 because I knew I wasn't going crazy boost. And the EGT gauge has got plenty of range for what we're doing.
Makes sense.
But yeah.
All right, so with all this boost, once you're running more boost through the engine, the first question is, are we going to need more fuel, right? Because you're pumping more air into that engine.
Yeah.
So one guy, I'm sorry I don't remember who it was, but somebody asked about fuel adjustment. So what did you do for fuel adjustment?
Yeah, so I just seated the pants. I think I'd back it out a quarter turn at a time, and we ended up going to 2.5, and then back into 2 is where we finally stopped at. It is a little bit warm, like I said, on the interstate, but it's good to see the pants around town.
And every turn is a smile per gallon, right?
Right.
It's just a little smile every time you turn that thing. But ideally, as you guys may or may not know, when you want that puff of black smoke when you first start up, that's your unburnt fuel. It's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
And then, it's okay to blow a little smoke until, of course, your boost comes on, and then you'll start burning cleanly. Yeah. So that was kind of, there wasn't really like dyno or anything weird like that. It was just sort of like, turn it up, it's too much, back it off a hair, and
Dan's been messing with his fuel on the 12HT, some of the off boost and everything like that. So I've been wanting to mess with that on the 3B here, but I haven't done it yet. So that may be one of the next projects to play around with.
That's what I love about these old engines, though, right? Everything's mechanical. There's nothing. You just turn a screw, back it off, and you don't like it, reverse what you did. Works out really well. All right, now let's talk about these. So with all this massive amounts of boost, just kidding, that we're running through this engine now, while we were in there, and we had the head apart and the engine torn apart, you went ahead and did an upgrade, right?
Yeah, so I bought an engine kit from Engines Australia, which came with all the gaskets that we would need to rebuild the engine. But I did buy a factory Toyota multi-layer steel head gasket, which replaces the original fiber type.
Now, where'd you get that?
And I can't remember if I bought it from a vendor or if I bought it direct from Toyota or what, but I ended up buying it just Toyota. I know I bought the exhaust manifold gaskets from Cruiser Outfitters. I bought the factory multi-layer steel ones as well for the manifold. Mm-hmm. And basically on that, I just took and sprayed the copper spray RTV on both sides of that, put that on. We use these ARP head studs. ARP does not support the 3B. These, found them on a thread in mud. Thanks, mud.
Right, every time.
These they say they're a Mitsubishi 2.6 liter head gasket, or head studs.
We'll link the part number here in the video for you guys.
I had to buy 2 of them because the 3B has so many head studs. I think there's like 18 of them. I'm not for sure. There's a couple left over in here. I think there was 18 head studs and there's 10 per box. So basically, this is what you got. And what I ended up having to do underneath the rocker arms is machining off about a 1/2 inch from the top of the head studs here, so that the rocker arms would bolt down and wouldn't contact these guys.
You did it on the lathe?
I did it on the lathe.
I thought you did. He's a bit of a whiz on the lathe, this guy. Don't let him fool you, right?
But anyway, these are part number 207-4202 from ARP. So we use these. We torqued them down to ARP's specs, and so no issues.
Brilliant. Somebody had asked about oil return to the sump. So the Garrett turbo is oil cooled, and so there's an oil return line. How did you do that?
So to get oil into the turbo, there's the oil gallery has plenty of plugs to pull your oil from. So I think in the video I showed where I put it in the most rear one and ran that up there. To get it back in, some guys will go back in through the alternator drain, but I heard that can back up and that the turbo can overwhelm that drain. So I did the traditional thing is when I was having the engine or when I was rebuilding the engine, I ended up I'm somewhat of a welder, cobbled together, maybe booger welder, you could call me.
No, he's being humble.
But I took it to a friend of mine. He's welds on aircraft all day long, so I took it to a friend of mine and had him weld a bung for a return line into the oil pan.
Perfect.
And it was beautiful.
Straight shot, straight.
Yeah, so it just goes straight down and in, and I haven't had any issues with that. And
brilliant. So that's how that works.
And that was part of the hoses that came in.
And that's all stainless steel braided?
It's all braided stainless steel lines. Just AN fittings.
Okay.
And yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's get to the one thing I'm sure you guys are probably really curious about: cost. What it cost overall. Now I know you bought the turbo and everything. It was used, right? Yeah. But
it wasn't used. It was brand new.
I mean, not used. It was on the classifieds. Yeah.
So with everything, I mean, that turbo is about a $700 or $800 turbo, but I bought everything for that turbo off the classifieds for $600. I mean, it was probably $1,000 worth of parts.
That's awesome.
To have the DXF file cut out, it cost me $50 to have it cut out here at a local machine shop on their water jet. Then just some random steel bits and.
You did a crossover pipe.
Yeah, the crossover. That's
just
just a piece of muffler pipe.
And then you had a couple of silicone 90s, right?
Well, those came in the kit.
Oh, those
came as part of the $600.
So, but if you were going to do this, you probably should budget for what, like $1,200, $1,000 to.
If you were going to use a Garrett, I mean, there's plenty of guys out there that use the Chinese turbo off eBay. I mean, that you could do that, and you could be well under what I spent. You could be well under $1,000.
I think that's good. I mean, to turbo, that's brilliant. And which leads me to one of the questions: was it worth it?
Yes.
100% worth it.
100%. Oh, definitely. It was hard to drive, honestly, before I put the turbo on. I've got some hard 90-degree turns when I leave my house that are just for property lines, and you've got to slow way down and turn on. And there's two of them real close together, and I would have to get all the way down to second gear just to go through those curves right there. Now I can take them in third gear and let the engine bog a little bit, and the turbo, lets me pull right through there. It totally changed the way that I drive the vehicle, and
it'd be a lot more fun.
Yeah, and like I said before, I could do 65 top with it matted to the floor. We were driving into Nashville to see Joel the other day at his shop down the interstate, and
you had like 75 at one point.
Dan pulled out his GPS on his phone there, and we were doing 75, and because my speedometer is not accurate in the
no hooked up, yeah, right. But yeah, that thing, and it'll move out of its own way perfectly. So yeah, brilliant.
So we were keeping up with traffic in Nashville, right through the middle of the heart of Nashville.
Yeah,
just fine. But
cool. Well, what about future plans?
So future plans, like I said, that is my main concern or problem, is that our EGTs are high on the interstate. And yeah, you can say
what
slow
are you
down
seeing?
You're doing 75 on the interstate.
Right, well, yeah,
on FJ40. But we're concerned about when we go out west pulling hills. We may be pulling a trailer, like a small military cargo style trailer with a tent on it, with it, and so we want to get those EGTs down.
And what are they? We didn't actually say what you were getting. What are you seeing typically EGTs on the highway?
On the interstate, maybe 1,000, 1,100, something like that.
Okay, and that's Fahrenheit, by the way, not Celsius. Before our international viewers go, "What, are you gonna blow that thing up?" So about 1400 is really don't want to go much for more than that. And then if you can hit it, you don't want to be sustained. For that
it's not sustained there. I'm driving around town. They vary. I can get it up to 800.
So
hello.
That's so unprofessional.
It's the wife.
Trying to be a good YouTube channel here, guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's also with Nashville, where we are. If you guys don't know, Nashville's only about 500-600 feet above sea level, and it's for the most part fairly flat, unless we start going out towards the Rockies, to the east coast, to the Great Smoky Mountains. But if we start going out west, and we're pulling some big grades, and we're going to be doing it with 5,000-6,000 feet elevation. We're going to start seeing that. You start seeing that 1,400 number real quick. So, intercooler maybe down the road.
Maybe an intercooler.
Maybe water meth.
Maybe water meth. I'm leaning more towards water meth. That looks like a simpler install, but maybe we do both. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean that's an option. We got a lot of room in the engine bay. You yank that 2F out, and although you go 4-cylinder to 4-cylinder, you got a good amount of room in there still.
6-cylinder, 4-cylinder.
6-cylinder 4-cylinder. That's what I meant. I knew that. So yeah.
Hey, don't sell the 2F short. It's a great engine.
It is a good engine. So yeah, you've got extra 2 cylinders worth of room in there to play with. So.
And I did slide the engine forward because with the H55, the shifter is about 3 inches rearward of.
Oh yeah. That's a good point.
Because when you go to an FJ60, even in the H42, the shifter is about 3 inches rearward. So I slid everything forward so that the shifter would line up with the factory hole in the transmission tunnel. So the engine is fairly well centered in the engine bay in there. Mm-hmm. Sits good. The fan is a good distance away from the radiator and everything like that.
And you
guys have seen it.
Yeah, and you went with just generic sort of aluminum.
Yeah, so
radiator, right?
Basically, I bought it from Summit, but it's basically just an aluminum pie pan, and then you cut your hole and put the and make your own shroud for it.
That's right.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah,
and it works well. It does its job.
Keeps it cool. And what didn't think about this one. Just came to me. What about the transmission? When you put them out of the transmission, you built a custom transmission.
I did. I used the
cross member, right?
The factory BJ70 transmission mount or transmission cross member, and just cut it down and welded on some new, I don't know which spacers or basically a place for it to mount onto the frame. It works well. I still need a skid plate for the transfer case, so I'm thinking about just reworking that whole thing. I've got the HUD Expo cross member skid plate on my 80 series, and I really like the way that one works. And I'd like to design one and build one. Hey, there's a rain.
Comes the rain. Is your windows up?
Yeah, we'll have to roll those
mine's
up.
Hang on, we're right back.
And we're back.
Hey, magic of YouTube.
Right.
So you were talking about the HUD Expo skid plate.
Yeah, the HUD Expo skid plate. I've got that on the 80 series. I'd like to build something like that to give my transfer case some more protection.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing.
If I could.
Seems to hang pretty low, right? I mean, it feels like it does anyway.
It does because I don't know if lazy is the right term or just out of convenience, I made the transmission sit that low.
Okay.
Because, and I'm probably, when I redesign that, because I didn't want to cut my transmission tunnel, but now that I see how low the skid plate or the transfer case sits, it needs to go up higher. Just the whole top of the transmission cover is different, and so I'm going to have to put a box, like basically weld a box above, and just do some metal work to the top of the transmission tunnel. And I see that now, and I skipped that at the beginning because I just didn't know what it was going to.
Well, I have to do the same kind of thing with the FJ45.
You are, yeah.
So we may video something like that. And
so I've got to do that. The transmission needs to come out anyway. I'm pretty sure the first gear synchros the first gear was really hard to get into when I first started driving it. Just even from a stop, it was hard to get into. But I don't know, self-healing power of Toyota.
Right.
It's actually gotten better as I've driven it, and that may just because I put new new oil in it, and maybe I need to do another change.
Yeah, go with
And,
the path of least resistance
right,
first.
so,
For the yanking transmissions.
But yeah, it's, I mean, man, I mean, how many times have you wheeled your vehicle and you're like, man, I think I've messed something up, and then you drive it for a few days and, yeah, I think it's all right.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I think it's the self-healing power of the Toyota.
I like this. It just all is healed.
Right.
I think that's it, dude. I think we covered everything. You know, if you guys have anything else that you want to hear about, or we didn't cover, or you just want more information on, leave your comments down below. We do try and read all of them, and we respond to as many as we can. And if you want more of a detailed question, you can hit us up, musiccitycruisers@gmail.com. We'll do our best to answer that for you guys, help you out along the way.
Yeah. What are you guys working on? What do you guys want to see us work on?
Yeah.
You know, to help you guys out.
Yeah, we've got a lot of things in the works, so we do appreciate you guys liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. We've got the 12HT that's going to go in the 45. We've got Kevin's new FJ40 project that we're probably going to yank the rebuilt 2F out of this. Transmission, my H55's got to go back in here. I mean, it's just, there's a whole lot. Yeah, we got all kinds of...
We got to get it done before it gets hot this summer. We couldn't work in the cold in the winter, and now it's going to get hot.
Yeah, we're just becoming...
We're old, bunch of old geezers.
We are, man. We like our climate control now, apparently. Who knew? So, oh, by the way, and I wanted to mention, dude, 1,000 subscribers.
Awesome.
That's crazy. And I don't know what... I'm humbled. I don't know what to say.
I know. Thank you, guys.
It's a really humbling experience, and you're watching a couple of yahoos here trying to mess around with Toyotas.
Right.
But 1,000 subscribers. So what we were thinking was just like a celebration from our end. Comment down below what you think of this video, and then what we'll do is on the next video, we'll do a random drawing, and whoever's we pick
We'll just
randomly.
put everybody's name in a hat.
Yeah, pull someone out, and then we'll send you guys some Music City Cruisers swag.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love swag?
Right.
Everyone
I mean, stickers. They add at least 25. You know.
Easy. 25.
25 horsepower.
Possibly more. Downhill.
I need to slap a couple on that thing.
You do. I don't know what he's thinking. One other thing, Cruisers and Coffee. That's coming up.
Yeah.
Right? 10th of April.
10th of April, downtown Nashville.
We'll link the address down in the description or in the video, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm
Excited. We've had a lot of you guys tell us that you're excited to come out.
I think it's gonna be a good turnout.
I think a lot of people are dying to get out and show off their cruisers and talk cruisers, and you know,
we
don't always have to take them to the woods. We can take them and show them off.
We can play with them and talk about them and swap parts. That's what it's all about, right? Have a good time. So come out and see us. 10th of April, 9 a.m. Cool. Well, I think that's it, right, Kev? Unless you got anything else.
I'm out of tea, man.
Dude, I'm out of tea too. This has been a longer video than I think we anticipated. So.
Right? I think we cut it there.
Yes, cut it there. Get some more tea.
Right.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.
See you guys.